Hi everybody, Armine Bazikin here from Bazikin Law Group. This month I wanted to talk about guardianship nominations. In fact, I actually wanted to give you guys 5 of my tips on how to select a guardian for your minor children. So oftentimes parents, we know, worry about everything and anything when it comes to their children. You know, what to feed them, is it organic, is it nutritious, where are they going to go to school, and various other choices that we make throughout the days and months of being parents. However, oftentimes what most parents fail to do completely is create a guardianship nomination for their child, designating a person to take care of their child if something were to happen to them. And this is probably the most important thing that you should do for your child, aside from everything else that you already do for them. So here are my 5 tips on how to select the proper guardian, or how to go about the selection process, because it is very daunting for most. So my number 1 tip would be select somebody in terms of the next 5 to 7, I would say, years. 5 to 10 is okay too. So when you're thinking of an individual to name as guardian, only look to the near future, 5 to 7 or 10 years. You want to make sure that you are naming the person that is correct and that is the appropriate person to take care of your child now. So if, for example, your mother, the grandmother of the child, is the right person to take care of your minor child if something happens to you, go ahead and name them. Oftentimes what happens is people do not name their parents as guardians because in their mind they think that when they're gone, their parents are going to have passed already. So they jump over their parents and name other individuals without taking their parents into consideration. So by focusing on the next 5 to 10 years, that'll make the job of selecting a guardian a little bit easier, hopefully, for you. So who's going to be around in the next 5 to 10 years, and who would your child want to be with the most in the next 5 to 10 years? That's what you should be thinking of. My second tip would be that the guardianship selection process is now permanent. So if you keep avoiding doing this guardianship nomination because you just can't make a final decision, well, it's never going to get done. What's best is to put something on paper today, and then you can always go back next month, next year, and make a change once you have decided permanently on your decision. It's always better to have something in place versus not having anything in place. And the document itself is not permanent, so you can always change it as your mind changes. And that's the second tip. The third tip is to think very practically when you're thinking of who you're going to name as a guardian. So a lot of times people will naturally name family members as guardians without taking into consideration certain factors like geography, religion, parenting style. So for example, if you want to name your child's aunt, your sister, as the guardian, but she lives in Nebraska, you might want to take into consideration, well, does that mean that my child is going to be uprooted from his community and taken to Nebraska? So you want to take those things into consideration. You also want to take into consideration religion. Does that person have the same religious beliefs as you? Does she have the same parenting style? So these are all practical things that you want to take into consideration when selecting your guardian. The next tip that I would have for you would be to name alternates. Always name 3 to 4 people after the main person that you name as alternates. So if your number 1 choice doesn't want to do it, or they're not around themselves, name number 2, name a number 3, name a number 4. If you have 5 or 6, put them all on paper. Why not, right? So always name alternates when you're deciding what to do. The last tip, the 5th tip that I would have for you, is think about whether you want your guardian for your child to also be in charge of the finances that you leave behind for your child. This is sometimes an easy choice for some and oftentimes difficult for others. But what I want you to think of is that guardian also going to be in charge of the money? Some people want to put the same person in charge to make that person's life easier. Other people believe there should be a checks and balances system, that if this person's taking care of my child, this person should be in charge of the money and they should work together. So it all depends on the types of individuals that you're naming, and specifically who you're naming, but think in the back of your mind, is this person also going to be in charge of the money, or is he simply going to be in charge of taking care of my child's day-to-day needs? So those are my 5 tips on how to select a guardian. What are some things that you should definitely take into consideration when making those decisions? I hope you found them helpful. If you want to discuss them further, feel free to give me a call or email me. My information will be below. If you'd like to schedule a free consultation, go ahead and give us a call. Bye-bye.